Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and I have a passion for empowering others to take responsibility for their careers. Yes, I've written several books on owning your career and am loving hosting this podcast. This podcast is for you if you're willing to make a shift to the driver's seat in your career. We feature leaders who inspire, empower, and motivate you for consistent career action for results. Please continue to join us every Sunday when a new episode is released. Let's get into this week's show. Welcome to the new season of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm excited to have with me today Tom Powner, who is the founder of CareerThinker.com. Tom has built an industry reputation as leader in educating and mentoring clients and colleagues on best practices, infusing technology, and improving processes that boost results. Since 2011, he has presented more than 300 career workshops, seminars, and webinars. He is a LinkedIn power user. Listeners, we want to hear all about that from Tom. And so get your notepad ready because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of tips in this episode. And he's currently the nationally certified online profile expert. I want to know what that means. Instructor teaching people how to unleash the power of LinkedIn. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be speaking with you.
Awesome. So Tom, tell us a little bit about your upbringing and what you wanted to be when you were growing up.
Well, I never really thought about what I wanted to be well, I shouldn't say that. That's actually not the truth. I had a few things in my mind what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a photographer, a DJ.
Nice.
And back when I was younger, 60 years ago when I was born, those weren't like viable career paths back then. At least I didn't think they were. But I started learning what I wanted to do in my career when I was probably the age of 14 when I started going to work during the summertime in my father's business. And I really watched him and how he treated clients and how he did his sales and how his customers loved him. And that's where I started establishing some of those core skills that I still use every single day in my own business right now, kind of full circle. I've always worked for companies, and now I have my own business like my father did, totally different business, but I started building my career skill sets and my career brand and stuff really started when I was really young. Didn't realize it. When I look in the rearview mirror, I could look at all stages of my career. And it all started with the mentorship from my father and watching him and learning from him and him pushing me to do certain things, the simple things that we sometimes forget about.
Awesome. I wonder, did you pivot at all? Because our parents have a stronghold on us as, younger folks. So I know when I was growing up, I wanted to be a teacher and my mom was like, there's no money in that, so I didn't go down that road, but I come full circle back to teaching my clients today. So I wonder, did you deviate from the entrepreneurship roots, mentoring, coaching, and do something different only to find yourself back leveraging what your father instilled in you growing up?
Well, I leveraged what he instilled in me growing up. Every job I had jobs at first. I didn't have what I felt was a career, even though jobs are a part of your career. So I didn't go into the family business, even though when my father got sick and was ill and he passed away, I didn't take over the family business because that wasn't really what I wanted to do. But I did make some pivots from where I thought my father was and to where my career went. But I took everything I learned from working with him and working for my first job at the age of 17. I took all those skills and I just use them in everything, every movement and every job and every company I worked for.
So when did the career pivot happen? What, from job to career? When did that happen?
Kind of my last job, the last company I worked for, Associated Materials. I took a really, really different approach. I was a lot more engaged with the career. It was a major company. They loved me. I loved them. So a lot of that flourished into getting promoted, making the money I deserved to make, and taking a real serious approach and being very active, getting promoted, being part of the decision-making team and the leadership team. So that's when I took that serious approach. But the biggest movement I made, a risk I took, was leaving corporate America. Because even though I loved the job, I loved the company, I loved my clients, the position was kind of killing me physically because I
Mhm.
was coming down with illnesses, because I was under a lot of stress. So I made the
Mhm.
conscious decision to leave and start my own business. And then going back to my entrepreneurship that I learned from my father 14 years ago, and that's when I started careerthinker.com.
Mm, awesome. So tell us, this show is based on the premise of being in the driver's seat, which really means being very hands-on and intentional in your career. So when would you say you were in the driver's seat for your career?
It's funny. That's actually a good topic because I ask people when I coach them, I ask them, did you choose your career? Did your career choose you?
Mm,
And more people I found out that career chose them. There's no wrong or right way. There's no better or worse way. It's what you do with the flow when you go with the flow. So my career chose me in the beginning. Um,
mm,
I really got into the driver's seat. Like I said, the last company I worked for, then started Career Thinker. So that's really where that light bulb went on. I said, okay, this is not a job anymore. This is a career path. And
mm.
that's when I really got behind the driver wheel and took over the wheel, and being a lot more conscious on the decisions I made, how I approached my work, and what I did every day.
Mm. Awesome. So talk to us about risk, because to leave the corporate safety, I know because I did it back in 2013.
Right.
It's not so easy to leave and do that pivot to wear so many hats as an entrepreneur and to really be responsible for your income. Plus, if you've got a team,
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into being successful. And you said you've been doing it for 14 years. So talk to us about how your perspective on risk and taking risk in your career.
Well, the risk I took was major because I had a great job at a company that loved me. I loved them, making really good money, and no corporate job is secure, but I felt secure back then.
Mm-hmm.
So to make a risk and do a career shift at the same time was extremely risky. I was going to something I never did before, even though I had the thought of what career thinker would be in my mind for years, because it was something I planned on doing when I would retire. I
Mm-hmm.
put that plan into 20 years in advance. And one of the reasons I went into Career Thinker, where we help people connect the next career opportunity, because I worked as a district manager for Caldor department stores in the
Oh my
Northeast.
gosh. What I know about Caldor. Okay.
And I was there when it went through the bankruptcy. So I was in
Uh-huh.
charge of many stores and a lot of people, and people were frightened back then. So
Mm-hmm.
I just took it upon myself to do resume writing. LinkedIn wasn't born back then.
Mm-hmm.
Resume writing classes, teaching people how to write the resumes, what people look for in the resumes. And I helped so many people back then, after Caldo went bankrupt, to find new jobs. So that was
Mm-hmm.
always stuck in my head. That, wow, that would be a cool thing to do. Didn't know I
Mm-hmm.
could make money at it, make a business out of it, and that's exactly what I did. So I did a career shift, even though I took all my skills as far as client relationships, selling, operations, all the business knowledge, and I took all that from my past career and I pushed it into Career Thinker. And you're right, as a business owner, and now I have a team of 12. As a business owner, you're in charge. You wear every single hat.
Yep.
So I was able to do that. So that was a big risk. And going into a writing industry, if you know me, no one would think, "Wow, Tom's a writer." I taught myself to be a writer, but I made a lot of risk there. But
Mm-hmm.
looking back
Mm-hmm.
now, looking in the rearview mirror, I don't regret anything. I
Mm-hmm.
might have done some things differently, especially the first year or two. When you're not making the income.
Yep.
I had a good support system with me. So I would have done some things differently, but no regrets. The risk was worth it.
Mm. So what sort of questions were you asking yourself before you took the leap?
Maybe I didn't ask enough questions. Well, I came to the decision because of my health. And I might have jumped a little too quick and not really thought about things. And maybe I'm glad I did that, because at this stage right now, I'm in a place where my work-life happiness is in sync.
Mm-hmm.
The work-life balance is a different topic. I don't think I don't think that's totally possible sometimes. But my
Mm-hmm.
work-life happiness is in sync. And so I'm at a stage now. There's no regrets as
Mm-hmm.
the leap I took. So there wasn't that one moment, because even the decision to quit my corporate job took me several months to do. And sometimes it's like, even with the clients I help, um, they've been at the company for 20 years. They
Mm-hmm.
knew 5 years prior they were not happy. It took them
Mm-hmm.
5 years to make
Yep.
that move. Sometimes we're in bad relationships and we don't make that jump right out of it. Sometimes it takes us years to get up
Yep.
the courage to, okay, this is it. I'm moving on. So it was, there's no one moment, but there was a lot of different moments built on top of each other.
I love that. And it's true because I experienced that myself, having worked for almost 16 years in my last job before I exited corporate America. I would agree wholeheartedly with your comment. So, Tom, tell us your formula. What are the key ingredients for being successful in your career, or for being in the driver's seat in your career? What is necessary for people to have who want to take ownership of their careers? What is your
Yeah.
formula?
Well, a lot of things go into the formula, and whether your career is working for a corporation, climbing a ladder, whatever your career path or focus is, it's different for everybody. Mine right now is my own business, but first thing, you have to be aware of time.
Mm,
Time against your goals. We have to set goals or where we think we should be at certain points in our career.
mhm,
Sometimes we don't meet that. Typically, my birthday is at time every year where I think about where I am professionally and personally.
mm,
Sometimes we don't meet those goals, but be aware of time, because years could go very quickly.
yep,
And I'm turning 60 in June, and I can't believe I'm turning 60, and the years go by like months. So first, be
yep,
aware of time.
yep,
Another thing, no matter what you do in your career, and this is also good for your personal being, upskill,
mm,
constantly learn and being open and learning new things.
mhm,
The way technology has shifted our careers and what we do in our careers has been probably tenfold from the 80s.
mhm,
Technology is part of every job, so upskill. And that's something I noticed when I started Career Thinker back in 2010, 11. During the recession, 95% of my clients were unemployed.
mhm,
They were underskilled. I mean, they were
mhm,
smart people, professional, but they were underskilled because they never upskilled through their career. And
mhm,
then boom, they get hit with a layoff, or they were fired, or the company
mhm,
closed. So upskill is a major one. Um, um, your work necessarily doesn't have to be your life passion, but you have to have passion in what you do. It's a
mhm,
big difference. I know some people say make your life passion your work, and you never work a day in your life. That's something I don't resonate with. But you have to have passion.
mhm,
Doesn't mean you're skipping to work every day with with firecrackers, but you have to have passion in what you do. And sometimes that passions change as our life, as we grow and we live. What I was passionate about when I was younger, it's very different than what I'm
mhm,
passionate about now. So be
mhm,
open to change.
mhm,
Um, and that's my next thing. Be open to change and shifting choices. Just because even when I speak to a lot of younger people getting out of college, I would say about 20% of people I speak to, they earn a degree and they realize after those 4 years of education, that's not what they want to do, but
mhm,
they feel stuck. But you
mhm,
shouldn't feel stuck. I mean, the world is a lot of different opportunities. So be open to change, shifting your choices, test things out, but again, keep track of time. Because if
mhm,
you shift to something else and you're just going through the motions, 5, 10 years could pass by very quickly. And don't have regrets, because
mhm,
I mean, if
mhm,
you didn't take that one job and you took the other job offer, and that other job offer you took didn't work out, don't have regrets that you didn't pick the other job, because you have no idea what would have happened then.
mhm,
Don't have regrets. Learn from your decisions, but don't have regrets.
mhm,
And next thing is be kind, lift people up. One thing I started believing, and that's when I met my husband 25 years ago, is, and he's a big believer in this, and he taught me this, karma. Um, What you put out in the world, you get back tenfold. So learn to be kind, lift people up in your careers, in your daily life, and you'd be surprised how that makes you more of a person people want to be around with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really sound advice, guidance in that formula there. I think that time one, haven't heard anybody say that on the show, but I think it's so key because time moves quickly and you can get caught up following somebody else's vision for your career if
Right.
you're not paying attention to time and your passion meter and all those great things that you said, Tom. So I think that's sound advice to share with our audience.
Yeah, and again, as you get older, I'm not sure how young you are still, but I'm reaching 60, and my mind is boggled how much time has went by. I have no
Yeah,
regrets.
yeah.
I wish sometimes maybe did things differently, but I'm pretty typically I'm a happy guy to begin with, but
Mm-hmm.
I think my work-life happiness balance is just right on par.
Mm. What do you think if you had a book that really pulled in your career body of work as an entrepreneur, as someone in the corporate walls or working for someone else? What do you think the title of that book would be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I don't know. You drive forward, but with keeping a sharp eye on the rearview mirror. I don't know. I don't know where it came from. You just put me on the spot with that question, but something to that point. We have to look forward, but not forgetting about the past. And I think and learn from our past to build our future.
Mm. Yeah, in my mind, I had already answered for you based on your answer before. So the no regrets thing seems like something that's a theme or a message. And then you said the happy guy. I was like, oh yeah, that
Yeah.
could be a book title. That no regrets one is a huge one. But I understand what you're saying about looking in the rear view mirror. Hmm. So thank you for sharing that. What resources have been helpful to you as you navigated your career? And you talk about upskilling, and I want to make some space for you to give us some tips for LinkedIn, but you talk about upskilling. What are some resources that are stand out in your memory that have helped you to level up in your career?
Well, there's a few things. First, finding a few good people you can call your mentors. And these people may change at different stages of your life. You know, a
Mm-hmm.
mentor that you had at 17, 18, maybe with a coach or something, or a teacher. As you
Mm-hmm.
get into 20, 30 to now my 50s and 60s, my mentors are very different. But
Mm-hmm.
finding the mentors, because we should all learn from each other. We should all be lifted up. We should all be energized by the people around us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think another resource, I'm kind of a tech guy. I love technology. And like I said earlier, technology is shifting and growing and changing our professional lives at a rate never seen. And now with generative AI, that's just really exploding out there. And that's the next
Mm-hmm.
couple of years is going to be pretty interesting. One of the resources I do use in my business and in my career is LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn right now is an amazing place to be for our careers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Talk about upskilling. LinkedIn has the whole LinkedIn Learning, where
Mm-hmm.
there's 30 plus thousand courses on there that you could upskill yourself. And again, upskilling, you have to do it on your own sometimes. You can't
Mm-hmm.
wait for a company to push you to learn a new skill.
Yep.
Sometimes you need to know what's going on in your industry and learn it. So LinkedIn is a great place to be. It's a great place to network with professionals, a great place to meet people. It's a great place to see what opportunities out there so you can plan your career future. And it's a great place to get found by your next career. So I think LinkedIn is one of the most amazing social platforms for our professional side. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's one of the things, and technology in general, learning generative AI, because even in our own businesses, our own work, generative AI could be a great way to push your productivity and just get that extra boost and creativity and a help to do better in your job. And then another resource, and some of these resources are just where we are. Sometimes just surrounding yourself with positive people who support your goals and people who energize you is a great thing to do. And this is something my father kind of mentioned at an early stage in my life. And he wasn't a philosopher. He was a blue collar worker,
Mm-hmm.
but surround yourself with people who support you. Um, And that goes from friends, coworkers, and stuff, and try to get rid of the negativity. And that alone can make a huge impact.
Mm, love that. Going back to LinkedIn and the generative AI, I'm noticing on the LinkedIn platform that when you do a post, you can use the AI. So, it's not even necessarily that you've invested in learning Chat GPT or other generative AI solutions, but it will say rewrite with AI. So
Right.
you can't hide from the AI. Give us some tips on what we should be talking about in terms of career on LinkedIn. Tell our audience, what should they be saying? How do they share about their careers?
Well, with LinkedIn and our careers in general, when I look at resumes, LinkedIn profiles, cover
Mm-hmm.
letters, it's really in today's market, it's a career marketing campaign. It's not a job search anymore because
Mm,
more and more companies and recruiters are doing social recruiting. They're finding
mm,
talent. They're not waiting for resumes anymore. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you're not building a professional brand, you're not sharing your successes, you're not being active. Things you don't do would just decrease your ability to get found for opportunities. We're in a
mm-hmm,
whole different world. And now with generative AI,
mm-hmm,
even though LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, and Microsoft has a stake in ChatGPT. There's a big
mm,
integration with AI in LinkedIn. It's just started.
yep,
I'm not impressed with some of it, but some of it you can see getting better and better.
mm-hmm,
Um, but your LinkedIn is one of your major career marketing campaigns. So it starts with your professional brand. Who are you? What do you stand for?
mm-hmm,
So getting that brand across your career marketing tools, your resume, LinkedIn, cover letter, and bio, is a first step in building that persona that people want to hire.
mm. Thank you for sharing those tips, because I do know there are people that are on LinkedIn and they may have a profile, but they're hesitant because, and I've had coaching clients tell me this, they don't want to feel like they're tooting their own horn or bragging about what they're doing. I always say, well, people are not thinking about you, so
Well, there's a book I used to give out with my clients. I haven't done it in a while, but name of the book is, I forgot her name.
brag,
But
right?
it's
Are you going to say brag?
tooting your own horn without blowing it. It's a
Yes,
really
brag.
easy read, but if you don't toot your own horn, no one's going to toot it for you. So, and again, there's a pompous way to toot your own horn, and there's a proper way to toot your own horn. So, own your successes, because if you
Mhm.
don't, nobody will.
I love that. Own your success. And the book, I was co-signing with you. The book is actually called Brag, and the subtitle is what you're mentioning by Peggy
Yes,
McCall. I
yes, that's
recommend
it.
it to my clients as well. It's a great book to
Yeah,
really.
the first time I read it was like 14 years ago when I started a career thing. I thought, oh wow, this is an easy read,
Yep.
very actionable, things to put into your head to, start tuning your own on.
Yeah. Yeah. We're on the same page with that one. I appreciate that. So as we begin to wrap the interview, any parting words of wisdom that you can share with the audience?
Well, I feel we sometimes we look at our career trajectory or what we think it is. It's not a straight line up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't start here and go straight up the line from A to B to C. Lots of times there's detours. Sometimes there's times you stall in your career. You might be at a certain level and you feel you shouldn't be anymore. That's okay. But again, keep your eye on time, because if you're
Mm-hmm.
one of those plateaus where, like losing weight, you want to lose 30 pounds, you lost 10, and you haven't lost anything in 5 weeks. Well, that's kind of too long of a plateau. So keep your eye on
Yeah.
time. It's okay to make shifts. It's okay to make detours. It's okay to try different things, because we
Mm-hmm.
should never be stuck in a place we don't want to be. I mean, how
Mm-hmm.
horrible is that, going to work every Monday morning at a place you just don't want to be for whatever
Mm,
reason?
mm,
It doesn't, for whatever reason. That's just a horrible way to be in our career. Sometimes we might get stuck in those things for a short period of time, but when it's a longer period of time, it can be very harmful to your health, um, mental and physical. And again, just enjoy what you do. So that's hard to do sometimes. Sometimes you don't enjoy every assignment, every client, every customer, but you generally have to be doing something you enjoy.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I appreciate that. I wonder, you mentioned about work-life happiness. how does one get to a place of work-life happiness? I remember you sprinkled that in earlier in the conversation in the podcast. So talk to us, leave us on a good note about getting to that place of career happiness,
Well,
work-life
I think,
career.
yeah, I think first time it just going back to old school, take a yellow notepad, do a right and left column, the things you want to do, things you like, and things you don't want to do. Sometimes we don't write the places we don't want to be. We don't write down what we don't want to do. And that's important because why shift to someplace you don't want to be? So have that list first, the pros and cons list. But then also understanding sometimes it's making the money to do things you enjoy doing. So when we look at work-life balance, I look at work-life happiness, because if I need to make a certain amount of money because I love to travel to Europe and stuff like that, the money will allow me to do that. Or if I want a job that provides extra free time because I love volunteering on the side, or I'm someone I like to be an artist on the side, and so I have a job that could be more remote and give me opportunity to be flexible. So the work-life happiness is very different for everybody. Sometimes you could be a parent, a stay-at-home parent, but you want that work-life balance so you can take care of your kids and still keep your career on track. So that answer is very different for everybody, but you have to know what makes you happy, and you have to know what makes you sad or unhappy, and try to constantly keep that focus, because when we lose focus of where we want to go and 10 years pass by, well, guess what? 10 years pass by.
Yeah.
And we can't get that time back.
Powerful. Well, Tom, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. Can you please tell our listeners how to stay connected with you if they'd like to do so?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I think there's LinkedIn, Tom Powner, Thomas Powner. I think there's only 2 or 3 Powners on the whole LinkedIn platform, so it's easy to find me. And then or search for Career Thinker on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn would be the best place. If you're not on LinkedIn, just search my company name, careerthinker.com, and send me a message, and we could connect that way.
Awesome. Well, again, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thanks. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this week's empowering career story on the podcast. If you did, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Wherever you listen to the podcast, be sure that you are subscribing and that you rate and review the podcast. It's so important as we continue to spread the word of career empowerment. In addition, you can head over to the LinkedIn platform and join the Power of Owning Your Career discussion group. There you can have access to the guests who have been on the podcast, as well as others listening to the podcast, as well as myself, where we can continue the conversation. I hope to see you on that platform. You can also email me at pooyc@simonemorris.com if you have a suggestion for guest or a message that you want me to hear personally. Thanks so much, and make it an inspiring, empowering week in your career.